Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clint Zoka, and welcome to another My Thoughts On. And, as promised, with delightful honour of The Incredibles 2 coming out this week, finally, I thought I'd talk about the two Brad Bird animated films. One that came before The Incredibles and one that came after. And don't worry, I will be doing that as well, but the first Incredibles I'm going to save towards the end of the week. So I can watch the first one, remember what's important and all that, and go in expecting greatness. So, and I'll do Tomorrowland as well, but I'll probably have to watch that first as well, because I barely remember anything. But anyways, Incredibles... Not Incredibles. That's good. So we're going to talk about Brad Bird's 1999 film, The Iron Giant, and then his 2007 film, Ratatouille. So first, let's talk about The Iron Giant. Fun fact: this film has been released. In my country, I believe at the same month as the US, but it also got released in the same year I was born. Same month, same year, not same day, unfortunately. That's how kind of special the film is. I mean, it's not one of my personal favourites, but let's just say it is not just a film that I would love because it's released on my frickin' year, month, even few days before I was born. But there is a good reason as to why I think this film is kind of special, and why I think Brad Bird could be a pretty unique director. Anyways, what is The Iron Giant about? It's about a boy who finds a giant metal machine or robot that came from outer space, and this was back in the 1950s. Well, I mean, to be more precise, I think it's 1957 when the film was set in. So yeah, he comes across this giant robot who may seem like a mean, mega destroying machine, but he's actually a gentle... it looks like a gentle giant. So the boy uses this creature, or this thing, if you would, as to compose for friendship. And like How to Train Your Dragon and Big Hero 6, he has to protect it from the people he loves, along with people who want to destroy it. Like, I don't know, the government or someone who wants to hunt it down. In this case, one of the people who work for the government, Kent Mansley, who wants to find out more about the giant and, who's hiding the giant, what the thing could be capable of, and it could destroy the entire of the US. So it's up to Hogarth to protect the giant and hide him so no one, or heck, even his own mother, will find out. He also comes across a scrap or a junkyard owner named Dean, who gets dragged into this mess. So it takes a little bit of kindness to change someone. Of course, knowing that this is a character finds something unusual and tries to teach it how to be normal, Hogarth teaches the giant how to eat. He shows him fiction. He shows him what and what's not. It does relate to some pretty clever comedy. It also goes into how much you care about the character, and it does have a pretty nice commentary, I think. For a first time directing an animated film, I'm pretty impressed. Not only is this film kind of, it's irrelevant now, but back then it could have been relevant to, the 1950s if it was released in the 1950s. I like how it's not trying to be a cartoony, safe, despite its PG rating, just harmless film. It tries to be something big, and it tries to deliver it in a mature, honest, touching way. But at the same time, it can deliver some really funny, some very dramatic, and some very emotional moments. And I think Brad Bird has done himself a grand job. It's executed with so much passion and so much care that you really get into the plot of this film. And yes, I will say this in Ratatouille as well. I like when people take something that's a cliche and maybe simple and makes it unique and extraordinary. And Brad Bird and his writers did that incredibly well here. It takes the character who finds something unusual, not out of this world, has a friendship with that thing, teaches the thing about what these humans do, unlike what the thing does from where he's from, or the thing's different. He has to hide the thing from a family member, a villain, a government, an army. It does that in a surprisingly interesting and a kind of down-to-earth way. And I was hooked throughout the entire thing. I have actually seen it before. I didn't see it when I was young when it came out. I wish I did, though, because the film is actually kind of a special gift to me, because it was released on the same month and the same year. I know, but I can't help it. I will talk more about with the characters, but the friendship between Hogarth and the giant is not only funny, but quite genuine. You don't think, oh, it's a boy with a giant monster. No, it's just a giant that has a heart, well, I wouldn't say heart of steel, but a heart of gold. I mean, sure, on the outside he may look like a destroying machine, but on the inside it's just, I think as Hogarth would put it, like a little kid who doesn't know what he wants or what he wants to do. Something like that, but I like how they just play it real, and I like how they handle human emotion when then there's a scene where it involves a deer, and then Hogarth talks to the giant about not everyone lives, and I was like, wow, I'll give the film this. At least they're actually, well, I wouldn't say taking risks, but at least they're talking about serious subjects. On that, they also talk about what anything could be coming out of this world: UFOs, monsters, aliens. It creates fear and mystery, and it creates an interesting atmosphere for the film, and I think that's also a plus as well. There is one little side plot that involves Dean, where he has to hide the giant in his junkyard, because Hogarth can't hide it at his mother's, because, she'll find out and then call the government and take it down. At least that one is involved with the plot of trying to hide the giant and keep him safe. And it shows a little bit more of a connection, not just with Hogarth and the giant, but also with Dean. Same with his mother, that also can be quite genuine and very 90s, but not in a bad way, but more like in a genuine and realistic way. Honestly, I say this is probably one of the most original films I've seen. I know, it's a cliche, I know everyone will say the same thing, but when I say what I say is true, it's because it is true. The care, the emotion, the realism, everything, heck, even the development's very good. If you have all that in a film, I think you can make it possible. If you have the right imagination, cleverness, if you have the right mind for it, let's say. And I'm pretty impressed with what Brad Bird did here. He's crafted himself an original plot, but also kind of an original idea. And in that way, I think it really works for what the film's trying to deliver. Animation. I never thought I'd say this, but to this day, from a film that came out in 1999, the animation still looks pretty solid. Even the 3D on the giant, And no, it's not cheap 3D looks like Titan AE or crap. I'm forgetting something else, aren't I? These are those crappy Titanic animated movies. At least with the giant, the outlines are still on him, and at least when you see him move, it's not like Borderlands where whenever the character moves, the outlines of the model goes wherever they want. With the giant, it's like a 3D slash 2D model, and it looks absolutely incredible. And the giant's design looks terrific. Same with the characters. They may look a little cartoonish, but they do have a bit of a realistic look to them. I like the color palettes on the characters. They look quite colorful. They got something quite real about them, along with real emotions that they pull off very well. The movie looks very beautiful as well. It looks very well drawn. The animals look great as well. The background, the sky, the movement, the execution, the action scenes, the scenes that involve characters showing some human emotion. It looks quite touching at times. There is so much care and effort. And I know it's a cliche, but I mean, just look at it. Just look at it. Tell me if that looks half-assed. That looks really beautiful. And it's rare nowadays we see 2D like animated films. And I know from that time, that's when 3D animation was still a thing, and it's still trying to catch on. I know. I mean, I love 3D animation. I love Pixar. I love DreamWorks. I really like Disney as well. It's come a long way, and even to this day, they still look amazing. Coco. Oh shit! What else? Inside Out. Yeah. You got Kung Fu Panda. You got How to Train Your Dragon. 3D animation's come a long way, and it's still doing really well. But hand drawn and especially stop motion is something that I genuinely really am impressed with. I mean, yes, I love 3D as well, but there's something special about 2D and stop motion, especially 2D, because it has that very Disney look about them. And I know Brad Bird and his team wasn't trying to make it look Disney like some others. You can argue it does look a bit too Disney because of the 2D look, but it doesn't bother me because the way these characters are designed, like Dean, Hogarth, Kent Mansley, and the sergeant, the army people, they have a look that stands out and not blends in. And I'll just say the same about Ratatouille, The Incredibles, and probably The Incredibles 2, but what makes these characters stand out is that their designs are not basic looking. They look different and very extraordinary and very well crafted, and I love the look of them, especially the giant. The giant looks amazing. He's basically like a giant Homer Simpson lookalike, but made of metal. And I don't mean that as by his childlike attitude, but he definitely does look a bit like him if he was a giant. I know 3D animation is great and stop motion, but 2D, especially with this movie, can still look beautiful, well crafted, well drawn, and heck, it actually aged quite well. It hasn't aged badly at all. Now that is impressive, and that's what makes me love this animation that Brad Bird has crafted. And heck, it even still looks great. It could be like his identical looks, if you will. Characters and acting. The main character, Hogarth, is basically just your average kid who's adventurous. He wants to go out at night. He's fearless. He's not just a dumb kid. He's pretty smart as well. I like Hogarth. I think he's a likable kid. He's actually one of the few kids that's actually not annoying. I mean, yes, his voice actor, I think, at the time was pretty good. But I actually really liked the kid. I thought he was likable, charming. You know, he's cool. He's funny. He I don't know. I just There's just something about him that just makes him so likable. Same with the giant. I love this character. He's basically and I'm going to say this again, but the character who's not from Earth, who may look like a menace, but inside he's basically just a child with a golden heart. And at times, I almost kind of cried because he's so lovely, so wonderful, so funny, and he's pretty damn cute. And I loved him all the way through. The scene that involved the deer, and it's like, oh god, this movie. Who's cutting fucking onions? I mean, I didn't like cry, but there were times I was getting quite emotional and invested with not only him but Hogarth and their relationship or friendship, more like. So these two have. I never thought I'd say this, but I see a lot of films that try and have chemistry with other characters. I mean, sometimes it does work, but mostly it's just, oh hey, how are you? I used to, I used to be this. Oh, let's get out of here. Hey, movie's over. No, they actually establish a good friendship and chemistry, and it works because you get to know more about them, more about the giant, more about Hogarth, and I think it works. I think it works really, really well, and I did care about their relationship all the way through until the end, where I thought this is where I think the movie got stronger. Next is Han Hughes, voiced by I don't know. I never thought I'd say this, but Jennifer Aniston is pretty good. I mean, I'm a fan of her, but I thought she was pretty good as Anne. She's loving, caring, likable. You can see the struggle. She's trying to look after her only child, and I think she's divorced. I don't think they explain that if Hogarth had a father or not. I don't know, but Dean is more like I think Dean's more like the comic relief and the well, I wouldn't say sidekick, but more of a ally to Hogarth. Sure, he can be a little bit of a jerk at times, but he doesn't really seem to. He may seem like a character who doesn't seem to care that much, but when he opens up to the giant and how how gentle he is and how not so threatening he is, he starts to actually grow a bond with him. I mean, from the beginning of the film, where we see him in the cafe talking to Hogarth while he's trying to get his pet squirrel, I actually liked him. I thought he was quite cool. I thought he was quite charming and funny. And the guy who plays him, Hemi Connick Jr., I think, actually does a pretty good job voicing him, and I think he's great. He definitely serves a part in the film, and I just really like him. I just thought he really stood out. Well, apart from Hogarth and Iron Giant. I mean, Anne's good as well. I think she definitely has a point in there instead of being the mum or Dean being the sidekick. No, they all have chemistry with each other. Maybe less with the giant and Annie, but everyone else, they all seem quite genuine, and you can definitely feel for them. And God, Brad Pitt, stop being a genius. This is too good. The other characters in the film, I'm trying to think. There's this one character in the beginning who actually saw the giant, but other people don't believe him. Then you have the villain, who I will slightly nitpick that he's kind of the weakest part of the film. And yes, that is Kent Mansley, works for the government. Yeah. Look, as much as he's such an interesting and irrelevant villain, I'll admit at times he does get a little too cartoony, and I know this film has a cartoony style, but whenever the characters move or have a little bit of slapstick, it's more downplayed, it's not over the top. Although at times I do think Kent Mansley can be a little too in your face. I mean, yeah, he does have a point to the film, and he does make the film have a conflict, but he does get a little annoying, a little in your face, but he's a good villain, I think. He's not bad, but he's just good. He's not really perfect. You got the sergeant in there as well, who plays as the sergeant who would do anything to protect the country, but then the villain has to lie to him, and then, yeah. Don't know who else is in the film. I mean, there is other characters, but The only characters that have the most screen time is actually Hogarth the Giant, Annie, Dean, Kent Mansley, the Sergeant. That's about it, really. Everyone else does actually play a part in the film, and they have something unique for a short amount of time, but that's about it, really. The voice acting is also pretty great as well. You got, as I mentioned, Jennifer Aniston as Hugh, Hogarth's mum, who's pretty great. The young actor, who I think is pretty old now, who plays Hogarth, is actually quite charming. Kent Mansley, who, oh god, I forgot his voice actor. He was in Flubber. I thought he fitted the character pretty well, and I'm sure it's this generic like, hey, I'm work for the government, and I sound like a generic folksman from America. You know what I mean, like the guy who you see in the beginning of Fallout 4. But Dean, the sergeant, the other characters are pretty damn good. Henry Connick Jr. as Dean, I thought he was quite cool, and I think he has very well delivered lines. Everyone does a fantastic job, but there's one that I think stands out. Vin Diesel as the Giant. I know. The guy who was in Fast and Furious voices a giant, and also plays a tree that moves, who only says his name. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you can look it up on IMDb, but honestly, here's what I like. At least you can't tell it's him. That's good, because it sounds like he could have been voiced by anyone. But it is actually Vin Diesel, and I think he does a terrific job voicing the giant. So with very well developed, likable, endearing characters with really good voice acting, I think you're on the roll here. On a side note, the score of the movie is actually pretty good. I know it's a cliche at this point, but it's pretty damn good score. I mean, it's not going to be as memorable as Michael Giacchino's score in Ratatouille or any of the other upcoming or other films. I think he did Ratatouille, Tomorrowland, and the two Incredibles films. This one, I think Michael Kamen or something. I think he's the only one that actually did a score for any of Brad Bird's films. I haven't seen Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, so I can't be the first one to say, oh, he has done others. I'm sure a composer done that, or maybe Michael did that as well. I don't know. So, is it one of my favourites? Well, I would say it'll be in my top... Oh, God, that's hard. I love this movie so much. It's very... sure, it used to be relevant, but it definitely tells an important plot with an important message. It has good chemistry, and I love the friendship between Hogarth and the giant. The animation looks top notch. It looks absolutely amazing. The characters are well developed and likable, and you can each identify with them. And even the villain's still pretty good as well. Pretty good voice acting that really get into their characters, and the score is wonderful. There is so much care and thought put into this film. They're not trying to make a kid's film. They're trying to make a film that has a point. Trying to remind you, trying to make you think and talk about it with someone, and try to express what makes the film incredible and unique. And I like when someone takes something that seems simple but makes it extraordinary. And that's what Brad Bird did here. And I think he did it really well. I would have gave this a 9 out of 10 because I didn't think the villain was that good. Although I do think Kent Mansley, after a rewatch, I think he's better. So I'll give it a 10. I am really impressed with this. So I guess top 10 or top 15. I know. It's an amazing animated film. I know it is, but to be honest with you, it's quite hard. And that couldn't be the same with Ratatouille. And I'll stop saying that because that's probably getting a little annoying. So, after The Iron Giant, Brad Bird decided to go work with Pixar. Good choice. And this one's about a rat who's passionate about food. Like, he doesn't like, unlike the rest of his family, like Emil and his father, they like to eat junk. He doesn't. He loves food. He likes anything that has good taste. I mean, show doesn't always tell, but something with good taste. He has a good scent. After one day getting separated from his family, he ends up in Bally's, where he finds himself in a restaurant used to be owned by his idol, I think his name is Gusto, something. I don't know. Who was dead for. I don't think they say, but the restaurant is now owned by a strict and demanding chef named Skinner. While the rat's there trying to, serve a dish, serve something that's quite nice, a garbage boy or just someone who's coming here to help throw out the garbage and the food and the leftovers named Linguini actually gets along with the rat quite well. And heck, he even actually finds a really, really funny and really clever way of controlling him with his hair. And with that, he helps him cook the finest dish. However, at the same time, Skinner discovers that there could be something wrong with the boy. And after a certain incident, things... I'm not... Okay. There is so much going on here. There's a critic who wants to try out the food after he hasn't written a review for the restaurant for years. Skinner wants to try and find out what Linguini's hiding. There's a little friendship, really strong friendship with Remy, the rat, and the main character, and Linguini, and a little relationship with Colette and Linguini. I know. You probably hear me say this, but it sounds really cliched. But like the Iron Giant, it does it with so much passion, so much extraordinariness, and it makes it unique. Sure, there are some points that may make it feel a little too ordinary, but if you think about it, it's quite extraordinary. Like the Iron Giant, it takes something that's simple and that's a cliche, but makes it bigger, more, and has a point to it. And it still has a good comedy and a good commentary about food and humans, the humanity, and even the moral from the critic. And even has the subject about critics. That's kind of rare. But throughout the film, I was quite interested. I never got bored. I was interested in what Remy was going to cook and how he was going to find his family, how he was going to help Linguini not lose his job. Everything was so fascinating. I don't mean as in like, ooh, glued to your eyes. No, it just tells a simple story in such a visually unique way, and I love that. And I think that's a really good sign of telling a good plot. But it's not all happy rainbows. There are parts that show that humans can also be bad. That can be slightly controversial, but the film is pretty subtle on that subject. And it shows that rats can be bad as well, and you have to open your heart out. You have to, and then there's something about show don't always tell. Never judge a book by its cover. No pun intended. Actually, it's pretty similar to Isle of Dogs. It throws in so many elements that it all kind of blends in together when you don't take it literally. It's supposed to be a realistic, but at the same time, kind of fictional world, if you will. And everything that the film delivers is quite passionate, it's quite relatable at times. It's quite beautiful. At times, there isn't even dialogue from our main character, and it delivers. Hold on, I can't think of the word here. Give me a second. Inspiration. There we go. It delivers inspiration to people who kind of want to cook and who want to do something like that. It's touching at times, and you can really feel for the character and what he's going through. And it all seems quite genuine. So, Brad Bird, I'm glad you're trying to make a kids' film that may look like a kids' film, but really is actually a film that's supposed to be delivering a commentary about humanity and the moral about if you even don't have the talent, you can still impress someone with something extraordinary. Okay, that's not quite what the film's delivering, but something like that. But you know, it's a story that's not just a kids' film. No, it's much more than that. It's extraordinary. And of course, I do like the way Brad Bird directs his films, and he writes for these films and all that. And you can definitely, I know I said this again, but you can definitely tell he's not trying to make a kids' film. So, I like this film. I like the execution of the film. It's not quite as original as The Iron Giant, which is something else, but at least it does it in a unique way, and it works really well. Animation. Come on, it's Pixar. What do you think I'm going to say? Is it amazing? Yes. Is it well animated? Yes. Even from 2007, it's still it hasn't aged bad at all, just like The Iron Giant. Does it look beautiful? Fuck yeah. It looks exactly like Paris. And it looks like a place I would love to go to. And Pixar always does well at that. They always animate certain worlds. Well, maybe not including Cars. Nothing against the movie, but it's just a place I don't think looks. It looks okay, actually. But they take us to a place that looks extraordinary, looks beautiful. It looks like a place I would love to live in. That and the Axion from WALL-E, I think Paris is a place I would love to go to. It looks quite beautiful, and the film does kind of give me a little inspiration to go there. But you know, the characters have that very Brad Bird look about them. The rats do look pretty good, and you can definitely tell who's who because Remy's blue, Emile is brown, and Remy's dad is grey. What else? The characters, the human characters, at least, they have different styles, different not personalities. I mean, they do, but they have different looks that makes them stand out. Is what I'm trying to say. Sorry about that. I had to push something out the way. The movements may seem a little cartoony, but they don't do it too much. It's more downplayed, it's more down to earth, and the rats' movements are also pretty close to how rats should move. And I know Pixar can do very well with the animation, but this is one of their better looking ones, along with Coco, WALL-E, Inside Out. Jesus, is too much to pray for. Toy Story 3, Incredibles, Finding Nemo, /Dory. They know how to make a beautiful film, but this takes it to a whole new level. And I love the animation for that, and I love how it captures the restaurant of Gusto's. I love the look of the kitchen. I love the backgrounds. It looks so genuine and so almost captures the feel of Paris. And that's a good thing, because the animation is fantastic, as always. Characters and acting. Let's talk about Remy, the main character. He's a rat who just loves passionate, real, and delicious food. Not junk like what the other rats eat, but he's such a likeable, well-developed, quite genuine character, actually. All he wants to do is just help the rats out by just eating good food instead of junk. He has good scent, you know? So, yeah, I mean, his relationship with Linguini's pretty good, and I think what he discovers about the humans and, trusting Linguini or not is quite interesting as well. So he's pretty likable. Sure, he can make some slightly dumb decisions and he can be a little mean-spirited, but I liked him all the way through. Same with Linguini. He may be a little bit of a dimwit, but I think he's quite likable. I like his friendship, again, with Remy. I think it's pretty good. Even, he does have good comedic timing when Remy controls him with his hair, which I think is quite funny and clever. His relationship with Colette, the toughest chef and the only female in the kitchen, who's also likable, funny, and, I think the relationship between the two is pretty cute. It does kind of overshadow a little bit with Remy's friendship with him, but they're both still very good and they're very well balanced. Who else? Amelia is the brother of Remy. He's okay, I suppose. Sure, not every character in this film delivers, but at least they have a point. And Remy's brother Emile, don't know what he's saying, Amelia, Emil or Amelia, Emil, yeah. But Emil doesn't do much. I thought he was the comic relief, which he kind of is, but he's more like just the brother. His dad is more like the prejudiced, saying, you shouldn't go out there, you shouldn't trust humans. He later shows him what humans can actually do, but in the end it shows that humans can be passionate, they can be nice and genuine if you show their heart to them, give it to them. Also, I like how the human interacts with the rat. It's not like a B-movie where Barry interacts with Vanessa, or in Madagascar when you hear Alex the lion trying to call I think it was animal service or something, someone on the phone, and then all you can hear is roaring. This one is basically like Madagascar, and I don't want to be like, this is kind of unrealistic, but it's kind of clever and a little funny actually, is that whenever Linguini or anyone talks to Remy or any other rat, he would just simply nod his head for yes or no. And I think that's quite a nice subtle way of him communicating with Linguini, but hey, you gotta do something, right? But I like it. I think it's quite cute, and I think it's better than actually sign language or showing a picture, but he just shakes his head, and yeah, I think it's quite clever. Then you've got the villain, who is Chef Skinner, and no, it's not Seymour Skinner. That would be a completely different situation. But Chef Skinner is the main villain, no surprise. All he wants to do is just keep the restaurant of Gusteau's in order and make sure nothing is screwed. And without giving anything away until something is revealed, and then, he has to take action. Alright, comparing him to Kent Mansley, he's not quite as irrelevant as Kent Mansley, but I say he's a slightly more entertaining and actually fascinating villain. Not the best from the Pixar villain, I know that is taken to Lotso, but I did find him interesting. He was a little distracting at times, but at least his point was to try and prove that Linguini actually was controlled by Remy. The critic and tone, Ego, I thought he's one of the best things about the film. And I know the film's amazing and all, but honestly, by the end where he actually comes in to review the restaurant and asks Linguini to actually cook him something that will amaze him, without giving anything away, the film delivers that in the most genuine, lovely, wonderful, and kind of touching way. And it generally put a smile on my face. And I know I was smiling throughout the film, but I was like, oh. And if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. And heck, even the voice acting's pretty good. I like Remy's voice actor. I thought he was pretty neat. Linguini can be a little annoying, but he was good. Colette was actually sounded like a French woman. Well, I mean, I could give it that. At least everyone in the film is talking French. Talk of French accent, speaking English. I think there were times there were a couple of characters who were speaking French, so at least they know what they're doing. I like Ego's voice actor. I thought he was quite charming and quite upstate or quite serious, and talk like this all the time. It's fucking awesome. So with good characters, some good development, and some good screen time with the characters actually, and they have most of them have good chemistry between each other. It's what makes this one of the most genuinely interesting and actually somewhat believable films I've seen from Pixar. It's some of these characters are relatable. Most of them are very funny. They're well developed. They're interesting, and there are characters that you can remember, especially the other chefs. One of them, Horace, voiced by Will Arnett from Lego Batman. Even the other chefs have good and pretty interesting backstories. So with that, good characters, good voice acting, good development, and good passion, these characters will never be forgotten. And they won't go off with a bad taste. Literally, that was supposed to be a pun. On a side note, the score by Michael Giacchino, or aka the guy who scored the 2 Jurassic World movies, the 2 Planet of the Apes movies. He also did Spider-Man Homecoming. He also did Rogue One. He did a couple of the Pixar films. His score here is not generic at all. It sounds like it's from France. And that's a good thing. It has the sound of France. And even if it has the looks and the sounds, you're on a good place. So, Ratatouille, is it one of the best Pixar films? Yeah. Top 5? Yeah. Top 10 then. It makes it a bit more fun, I suppose. It has a very interesting plot that sounds simple, but is delivered in a fantastic way. Beautiful animation, lovable, unforgettable, and memorable. I said that all in one go. Likeable, very well developed characters, good voice acting, and an incredible score that captures the sound, along with the animation captures the look of France or Paris. So if you haven't seen it, well, what the hell are you doing? Get off your lazy bums and go watch it. It's an amazing film. And don't show them Peter Rabbit again. I see now and again people say, oh, I'm taking my kids to see that. My kids love that. I understand why, but show them a Pixar film and they will most likely be bored. But at least it's better than Peter Rabbit. So, with something amazing like this, I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. Well, we're off to a good start. Next, Incredibles and Tomorrowland. And yes, I will be doing them both in one. Makes it fair, I suppose. So anyways, please let me know what you think of these films. I'm actually quite interested what you think of Ratatouille, The Iron Giant, The Incredibles, Incredibles 2 when it comes out, and Tomorrowland. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and, well, most importantly, subscribe. And until next time, for now, moi, I can't speak French.